Hey guys, this is Pat Jenkins of On the Hill Media and voice of Fayetteville High Bulldogs Athletics. Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that's On the Hill Media. Make sure you hit the bell for all notifications. As we say, let's get it.
Hello, Northwest Arkansas. I am Darren Storms with Storms Orthodontics. Here at Storms Orthodontics, we're proud to be able to sponsor the Fayetteville Bulldogs for this upcoming season. We wish you guys the best of luck. Have a safe and happy and healthy football season. Go Dogs. Good luck, boys.
Perfect. Practice today, so that was a hamstring that he had.
They want me to ask you this: have you seen the difference between the quarterback at A&M this year? I know that's been one game, I guess, compared to LSU last year.
No, not a lot. I mean, obviously they're running a little bit similar system, I don't see they're going to run the ball a little bit more with their other guy. I know you're comparing Johnson to last year, but we didn't see a whole lot of change in what they did at LSU. And they're asking him to throw the football, and he ran his own read and kept the ball. And I mean, he's still a guy that can hurt you with his feet. Just like they used him a little bit at LSU as well, but he's in there to manage the game and throw the football. To me, he was at LSU and he is at A&M.
Yeah, Hazel would get banged up a little bit too, Shaden.
Not that I remember.
Okay.
No, I mean, he wasn't on our injury report today.
Okay. For you guys are leading the country in sacks per game. Flip side of that, maybe committing more guys. You're leading the country in passing yards allowed. Can you live with that, or what's your take on it?
Well, we had to get better at both of them, really, but obviously there's a little bit more urgency of covering people. We can live with guys getting good throws, and we can't live with guys wide open. And if somebody's going to beat us, they need to beat us with us attempting to cover the guy. And we've had obviously too many mistakes there, and backs coming out of the backfield, things of that nature, where we're in man coverage and we got to peel a linebacker out there and things of that nature. And I will say this: we're doing exactly what we think is best for us to win. There have been conversations about going back and running what we ran last year, double cloud about 90% of the snaps, and it worked some games and it didn't some games. So I think we'll get a mixture of that going forward, but we've got to fix that problem, and everybody in the building's aware of it. And how we do that is going to be a combination of who's on the field and the opponent, whether we feel like we can cover them man-to-man or not. And if we can't cover them in zone coverage, then we definitely have to put pressure on the quarterback, because that's something that we're good at. But to do that, you have to be able to play some man, even though we went into some quarters, halves coverage, and rushed Drew Sanders last week in the second half. Seemed to work out a little bit better for us.
Rocket said that his game did not make up for that fumble. And I just wonder what you think about him as a person. Like, how important the game is to him and what he's meant to you so far?
You know, the thing about Rocket is, and it's true. I mean, he's the first guy. He's early to study table. I mean, all his teachers, you know, we've had a few academic captains, academic staff captain. If he's in a class, they love him. That's how he is. Things bother him. He's a perfectionist. That's probably what makes him good. He's very talented, but his want to is higher than his talent, if that makes sense. And just a really, really fine kid, and he takes things personal. I'm glad he didn't take them too long. I mean, we fumbled the ball and then came back and continued to have a really good game. He had a good game before that, and then had a really good game after that as well.
You said last week that when you're evaluating transfers, you also want to look at how they are off the field and as kids. So what was it about Jordan Dominic specifically that impressed you and stood out about his character?
His parents, to be perfectly honest with you, once we hit his mannerisms over the phone, you know, your phone recruiting, you know, we never had met him before. Then talking to his mom and dad, they're classy people, wonderful people. And then when we got him on, he was a guy that just wanted to compete in this league. There wasn't a problem at Georgia Tech where he's going, I don't like the coach, I don't like practice, I don't like this. It was about, look, I've got an opportunity to go to the SEC. I'd like to see if I'm good enough to play in the SEC. So the reasons have something to do with that as well. But his parents, his family, you knew that he was going to be a good kid by the way he was raised, and he came in, and it was a shock to him. If you ask him, he'll tell you it was a shock to him about our work ethic. Nah, that's not fair to say, about how we run our program versus where he came from. And that's not a knock at Georgia Tech at all. They're obviously different than what we do.
Coach Rocket was asked on Saturday if he feels like he's starting to make a statement nationally, and he said he does. I'm curious, did you expect this start from him to the season?
I expected him to be a really good player. I don't know if I expected us to use him as much as we have. You know, he was primarily the only guy that played. You know, he wasn't, but very few reps for AJ and Ardub. The way the game was going and where we were behind the whole game, you know, until the very, very end of the game. We just felt like as long as he wasn't tired, that he was our guy that we were going to go to. But to answer your question, I knew he would have production. I just didn't know we would use him quite as much and as we are. And
the recap of Arkansas's 38-27, tighter than expected ball game. Then I'm one. I'll raise my hand because I thought it'd be a lot bigger of a margin. I knew it would be double digits over 10, but I thought it would be maybe 10 more points, 14 more points. So I got a little cocky. I'm not gonna lie. But it was something that was good. Just like the football team needed a little slowing up, I think I needed a little slowing up as well. Arkansas comes out 38-27 winners. What was your concerns? I mean, was it closer than you thought? About right? Are you happy with the 3-0? I mean, where are you at? Arkansas heading into the Southwest Classic versus A&M and Jerry's World, number 10 against number 24. Arkansas going back as the winner and defending Southwest Classic champion in Arlington. Kickoff will be at 6 p.m. Now, next Saturday's game will be a CBS game, as it was announced just a little over an hour ago that the Arkansas-Alabama game will be at 2:30 from Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium on October 1st, a week from this coming Saturday. So if Arkansas takes care of business, people, it is going to be the place to be, so to speak. It'll be the most watched city in all of college football if Arkansas can go on the road, not necessarily on the road, to a neutral site and retain the Southwest Classic Championship. You're going to have a top 10 matchup in the SEC against a team that Arkansas just has had a lot of trouble. But first things first, you got to take care of A&M. Where are you at with this A&M game? What's your concerns? I think Arkansas will handle the game by at least 10 like they did last year. I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout, but I think Arkansas does win this game. I don't think Texas A&M can move the ball offensively well enough and score with this Arkansas offense. I think they're going to come out, and if they're smart like any other team offensively, they're going to come out throwing the football. But you also have to understand that if you're going to throw the football, that this team can get after the quarterback pretty damn good. I mean, 17 sacks in 3 games. They lead the country by at least 3 more sacks than their closest. The second place defensive front. They get after people. 8 sacks in this past Saturday's game. You know, this team is a bend but don't break right now. And I know Coach Pittman and that staff, Coach Odom, and all the defensive side, they're not pleased with the pass coverage. They're not pleased with the pass defense. And rightfully they shouldn't be. But that's not anything to say, oh, this team, the world's going to be falling. I mean, they're still in the maturation process, and there's still some young guys that are having to learn on fire. Now, still no excuses. You should never give up 350 yards passing every game. So I think if there's one area of concern for Arkansas and them reaching an elite level this season, I think they're going to have, with Miles Slusher coming back, Coach did mention Miles will be at practice today and is expected to play this coming Saturday versus A&M. That's going to make a tremendous positive in that back end. I mean, Miles is one of those more elite, highly recruited defensive backs that Sam and his staff were able to sign when they took over the reins here at the University of Arkansas. So, I mean, there's a lot going on. I just want to hear what you got to say. I mean, where are you at? What are your feelings about this past Saturday's game? I think, for one, it was good to a certain degree. I mean, this is a team that had not been behind for any portion of the season, and they dropped down 17-0. And to see them respond is something that I was really anxious to see. Now, was I nervous in the press? Of course. I even went to a point to say when they were down 27-17, 2 plays before Rocket scored, if they didn't do anything in that drive, things were going to get pretty tight for Arkansas. Luckily, Rocket made a play, and then within 2 minutes, minute and a half, Bryce Stevens makes the game-changing play to give him the lead, and from that moment on, it just seemed like it gave the whole team energy. I believe they came out and sacked the young man 4 times? 4 or 5 times, I think they got after him the 2 series after the Bryce Stevens punt return. But I tell you what, I mean, I think Arkansas learned a lot. I think what you'll see this Saturday is that this football team learned a lot about themselves, about how they can handle adversity. And while I was in the press box, I was paying close attention to the body language, the vibe on the sideline, and not one player nor coach I saw with any distress. There was a very calm sideline. I did see KJ step into that leadership role as I was watching him encourage offense. He'd go down to the defensive side, encouraging words. So I saw a lot of that going on. And at the end of the day, the players that had to make the plays, KJ, Rocket, Trey Knox, on the defensive side of the ball, Bumper, Drew, Jordan Dominique. Those guys made the plays that had to be made. Landon Jackson, and his name just gets mentioned more and more week in and week out. This young man is starting to come into his own and prove as to why he was so highly thought of coming out of Pleasant Grove High School in Texarkana. 17 sacks. They lead the country. Terry Preston and Coach Tommy Tice have tuned in. I was right about the myths. The MVPs of the game, but not the score. Yep. I think a lot of us missed that score, D. A tremendous amount of us, because I think I said 48-17 or something like that.
No, that was my score. I think you gave him 50-something.
I did say 50 piece. I did say that.
Yeah, you and I think it was another writer that wanted a 50 piece too. You wanted that 50 cent.
But, and I will say this, though. I'm not going to knock Mississippi State, and I'm not going to try to say, well, Arkansas didn't do this. They were looking at that's a bunch of bull crap. And that's being disrespectful to Missouri State, Coach Petrino and his staff. I mean, they came and they played a hell of a game for 3.5 quarters. It just came down to what my co-analysts on our favorite high broadcast, Demetrius, you know what I'm talking about, the Jimmies and the Joes. That's what it just came down to. Arkansas's players that had to make plays, as I've said it before, they made the plays. I thought as the game wore on, I thought the offensive line started winning the battle of the line of scrimmage, because in the first half, particularly the first quarter, they didn't win very many lines of scrimmage battles.
I don't think it was that they didn't win very many. I think it was more stalemates than Arkansas definitively winning the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Because there were times that Arkansas was able to move the ball. It just we didn't execute that first half, and we didn't really seize the moment when it was time to punch that ball in. Because we got in the red zone twice and walked away with nothing. So again, I don't think it was just that the offensive line was getting whipped, but more so that the offense was able to really capitalize in the moment.
I think Rocket Sanders is making. And there was a question is if he feels he's making a statement as far as the Heisman contention goes, and I really feel like the young man is. Leads the country. Leads the SEC in rushing. Now, mind you, this is a kid that was recruited by Justin Stepp before he went on to take the same job at South Carolina as a receiver. Comes to Fayetteville in his freshman year and gets converted to running back. Has a somewhat productive year, and then comes out his sophomore year, minus Dominique Johnson, and having to assume more of the yeoman's work, and just has put on a show, averaging close to 150 rushing per Saturday. I think that's a recipe for making a pretty good statement as to you competing to be the elite, one of the elite collegiate players in all of college football.
A lot of people would say maybe bad luck for wearing that 5, but I'm gonna say this is the year of good luck for wearing that number 5. I think even when you look at the body of work that he puts together, and if he can continue kind of being on pace, and Arkansas can string along those wins, because I think that was always Arkansas' problem. They would have elite athletes, even when you think back to Brian Mallett and Niles Davis, guys that did have potential Heisman talk at one time. The only thing Arkansas didn't have when it came time to decide the Heisman winner was the wins, but the total wins as a team.
Right.
The individual stats were there. Even when you talk about Darren McFadden against Tebow, he was crushing Tebow.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I can't remember what the record was that year, but I know that was the one thing that, as a voter, you held your hat on and said, well, I'll go with Tebow. And I think this is the one thing that's in Rocket Sanders' favor wearing that number 5. I think they're going to look back and say, man, we snubbed Darren that year. We can make it up right now, but it's on Arkansas to go through and win enough games to really validate and push that, because I think if Rocket can dominate that, I think they have favor to show Arkansas some love.
Mr. Terry Preston Roy, TPR. Petrino outcoached Sam, but the players' pride and talent came into play, and they took over. I think that's the culture that Sam's built. And Sam, Coach Pittman was, first to congratulate Coach Petrino and his job of having his team prepared, and did in the press conference in the same breath say, hey, he did have his team better prepared than I did. He coached better than I did. Those are accountable coaches, and that's the type of coach I want. The state of Arkansas should be proud to have Sam Pittman and this entire staff here. And I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm just saying to hear your coach come to the podium and take ownership and, be held accountable. That's priceless. Gives all the credit to the players and his staff members. Coach Pittman is one of the more humble coaches that I know. But let's get a real quick break, and then we'll come back with more talk. It's the Monday edition on the Hill Media on KDSJ 479.
Yeah.
Something that you commented on, what did it mean to you, and is it going to be a message to the boys this week?
Well, I love Dan Skipper. Him and about everybody I've ever coached. But Danny called me last week. I don't think he'll mind me sharing. I hope he doesn't. I don't think he will, but he called me last week and told me he's going to get his first start, and he was 6 years in, he had been cut, down to the practice team. He said, I'm going to get my first start. And he was very complimentary of me, like I had one thing to do with that, which I did not. He did all that. But then that video, Coach Campbell doing that was awesome. And I called Dan after I saw it last night, and visit with him a little bit. But that was pretty special by Coach Campbell to do that and then send him up so he can have the pleasantry of talking to all you guys in Detroit. And I thought that was pretty cool. I text Coach Campbell as well. I thought it was pretty.
All right, welcome back. It's our final segment as we have basically a 30-minute roundup. Really basically from 1:35, 1:40 to 2 o'clock. So especially only on Mondays we'll have a short roundup to recap the past weekend's game. And then Tuesday through Friday, we're here from 1 to 2 p.m. We'll get back to our Hall guys. We're going to get on the Caravan. I know I've been saying it for weeks, but we're going to get on the SEC Caravan and start getting around the conference to some of our guys so we can have you guys ready for all the SEC games that take place on Saturdays, not just Arkansas and whomever they're playing, but the entire conference. We want to bring an awareness and provide you guys with information so when you're watching these games, you'll be able to know what's going on in that particular game. That's why we like to do it here on the Hill Media as well. Question for tomorrow. I want y'all all to think about this because this is going to be a heavy topic for us in our discussion. Where do you rank KJ Jefferson in the SEC? And where's KJ when you rate the top 10, 15 quarterbacks? And is he the most overhyped or underhyped? I think it's the latter, the under. I think he's the most underrated quarterback in college football. All this kid does is stay consistent and win football games. And this program, and offensive in particular, has averaged, I believe, in the clip of 38 per outing when they have KJ as your starting quarterback. I'm not saying all the time. He's had a few games, but for the better part, 80% of his starting games, they've averaged 38 plus. So let's just keep that out there. But, yeah, that's going to be the question. Think about it. And then shoot me your answers. And then keys to this Southwest Classic in Arlington, Jerry's World versus the 24th ranked Aggies. Tell me some things when we talk tomorrow. So think all this over, and then we're going to talk about it on Taco Tuesday. I want to give a shout-out to my producer, Demetrius Johnson. Also, to our sponsors that make this so awesome and able to be on Monday through Friday. Lindsay & Associates, they have an office in Fayetteville, an office also, too, in Rogers. Lindsay & Associates, they bring great neighbors together. In Fayetteville Glass, they're at 1725 College Avenue, family-owned since 1947. That's Fayetteville Glass, not Auto Company, Inc. And a little teaser, we'll announce a new one in a few days. That's all I'm going to say about it. But it's something that we're really, really excited to announce. Just finishing up some loose ends is what we should say. But, hey, that's going to do it for our Monday edition. We'll be back tomorrow. We hope you will as well. For Pat Jenkins, it's on the Hill on KDSJ 479. Y'all be blessed, and you know them last words. Let's get it.